And now, after Influence, Dr. Cialdini wrote Persuasion, and obviously the concept of unity. Would you like to talk a little bit about that, Brian?
Sure. Persuasion is different than persuasion. It's a play on the word. Instead of saying persuasion, we say pre-suasion. But persuasion is all about setting up the moment. I like to call it setting the stage. What can you say or do before you ever try to persuade somebody that might change the mindset so that it's easier for them to say yes to you? And I will give you an example from my personal life. My wife and I told you when I took the insurance job, within a few weeks we were dating and things were wonderful, until about 3 months later in the fall, my old girlfriend called and it really threw me for a loop. And suddenly I was indecisive between these two women. And my indecision lasted 6 months, where I with one, with the other, with one. And it was late April that following year, and my wife and I still work together. And I saw her in the break room, asked how she's doing, and she said, fine. And by the way, I won't go out with you again. I'm tired of the back and forth. And I couldn't blame her for that. But I also felt like I'd settled things in my heart, and I knew she's the one I wanted to be with. In fact, I was thinking I wanted to marry her. So I knew I was going to need to do something big. I knew nothing about persuasion, but I knew I needed to do something big to win her back. So on her birthday, a few weeks later, I had asked if I could take her to dinner, and she said yes. So I sent her a dozen roses at work. She liked that. Showed up at her apartment, another dozen roses, bottle of wine. She really liked that. We get ready to leave, and I had hired a Rolls Royce and a chauffeur to drive us to downtown Columbus. And we rode this glass elevator up more than 30 stories and had this romantic dinner overlooking the skyline. And we took the glass elevator back down. And in the back of the Rolls Royce, I popped the question and she said yes. Now, that sounds really elaborate. Well, I was in the doghouse. I needed to do something elaborate. But think about this. If I had said that day in the break room, I'm sorry, I love you, will you marry me? She wouldn't have said yes. But when I set the stage romantically, it changed how she thought and felt about me, and that opened her up to my ask. And I think people need to understand this, because this can really magnify your attempts at persuading another person, because two people can make the very same ask, but maybe depending on where they are, or just a question or a word that they used beforehand, can change how somebody thinks. And it can make a very dramatic difference in the number of people who are willing to say yes to you.
Oh, I just love that story, Brian, and yeah, congrats on doing having such a great engagement, or pre-engagement ritual. She just couldn't have said no after all of that.
No, and here we are 34 years later. So I think she feels like she made the right choice.